Hi besties, welcome to my little booktube channel. I haven't made a YouTube video in a long time, but I have been super active on TikTok and have built a wonderful little community of book besties on there, so I figured I would come back on YouTube and start filming. Today I wanted to do a little wrap up of the 5 books that I read in June. I read 3 physical books and then I just got my new Kindle, so I read 2 books on that. First up we have Great Big Beautiful Life by Emily Henry. I'm super funny about like my books matching on the shelf, and as you can see behind me I have my Emily Henry books that are all in paperback. Sorry if you can hear my dog. When it was released in hardcover last year, I didn't get it because I was like, no, it needs to match. But it finally released in paperback, so I picked it up and finally read it. This is about Alice and Hayden, who are both writers, and they are invited to kind of be like auditioning to write the biography of Margaret Ives, who was like a very, very famous like starlet in Hollywood back in the day. This really reminded me of The Seven Husbands of Evelyn Hugo. In that it was like back and forth between the perspectives of the writers and also Margaret and her story. I ended up giving this a 3.5 star rating, which usually for Emily Henry books, I feel like they're a little bit of higher ratings, but I think because like Margaret's story wasn't as like dramatic and crazy as I kind of expected it to be based on like, I don't know, I was comparing it to The Seven Husbands of Evelyn Hugo a little bit, and maybe that was the issue, but I felt like I was more invested for this one in Alice and Hayden than I was in Margaret. I still really enjoyed this. I felt like there was a little bit of a twist that kind of you don't see coming, and I enjoyed that. But yeah, I still really enjoyed this. 3.5 stars is still a very good rating in my book, so yeah. Next up, I read Just Friends by Haley Pham. This is her first book, and if you are familiar with booktube at all, like I'm sure you know who Haley Pham is. There she is on the back of her book. I also got the first like edition printing, whatever, so I got the pretty like end pages, whatever they're called. This is about Blair and Declan, who are childhood best friends, but then after high school they don't speak to each other anymore, and then 4 years later Blair comes back to her hometown because her aunt is sick, and she reunites with Declan, and it kind of shows the perspectives of when they were younger and their relationship playing out, and then also when they're older. So I love the back and forth perspectives. That's one of like my favorite kind of tropes I think in books, is like back and forth 2 different timelines. I ended up also giving this 3.5 stars, and I was kind of like, I had seen a lot of people really picking this apart, but I loved it. I thought it was so good. I think she really did a great job dealing with grief in this book, and if you're someone that enjoys like kind of seeing representation for grief, I think you'll really like this. It's also a really good like beachy summery book. Obviously, I mean, look at the cover. If you're wanting some more like summery beachy reads, this is definitely a good one to pick up. Next on my Kindle, I ended up reading The Housemaid's Wedding by Frida McFadden, which is actually just a novella, but I had read the whole Housemaid series back in I think September of last year, and I didn't even realize that there was a novella about their wedding, so I just went ahead and read this for fun. This comes after the second book in the series. I ended up giving this 2.5 stars. It was like fine. It was, you know, 70 something pages, and it was just like about Millie and Enzo's wedding and how that kind of played out. I was gonna give it 2 stars, but then I bumped it up to 2.5 because I feel like Frida like always just kind of twists it a little bit, and you're like, oh wait, that's not who I thought that it was in the beginning. If you haven't read this in the Housemaid series, it's not a necessity, but if you just really like the characters, it's worth giving a shot. 2.5 for this one. Next up, I read The Summer of Broken Rules by K.L. Walther. And this was like super popular, I feel like a few years ago, and I just never got around to reading it, and it was on Kindle Unlimited, so I was like, why not? It's summer, it's giving the vibes, so let's go ahead. I actually loved this book. I gave it 4 stars. This book is about Meredith, who is part of like this really big family that lives or has like property, a big farm on Martha's Vineyard, and they most of the time go and stay there for the summer. Her cousin is getting married, and so there's a whole like wedding party, and all the family is present at Martha's Vineyard, the farm, for 1 week. and they have this family game that they play called Assassin, where like each person gets a name and then you have to like get the person that you have the name of, and then they give you their name. So then it's like a whole big showdown at the end of like the last two standing. Meredith meets one of the groomsmen, Wit, while she is there for the week, and as you can probably guess, there's a romance that plays out between the two of them. It also deals with grief. This is Meredith's first summer in Martha's Vineyard without her sister Claire, who passed away. So it talks about that a lot, and that is a topic that is addressed quite frequently in this book. So just be aware of that if that's something you're sensitive to, but I loved how it was done. I love books that are set at like a lake, beach, you know, like I've got The Summer I Turned Pretty, Every Summer After, like Beach Read, you know, all these Happy Place, like everything that's set in kind of a similar situation as that I really like. So this one was just so good. I read it in 2 days and I was just really immersed in it, so would recommend. Last but not least, we have Throne of Glass. I finally started this series. This has been on my want to read for so long, and it's one of my mom's favorite series. It's my best friend's favorite series. It's a lot of my book besties' favorite series. It's like one of the best, apparently, fantasy series ever. So I'm finally getting into it. It is very long overdue, and I finished the first one in June, and I'm already like halfway through Crown of Midnight. If you don't know much about this series follows Selena Sardothian, who is an assassin. So Selena gets summoned by the king to compete to be his champion. So the first one follows that entire like competition that she's in. I gave this one 4 stars. I loved being back in a fantasy world that's like immersive. I am so excited to continue, and I'm already loving the second one. If you haven't started reading this, you should definitely start reading it with me, because it's just one of those like iconic series that I feel like you have to read as a reader if you like fantasy. So that is my 5 books that I read in June. I hope you guys enjoyed hearing about just my thoughts and my ratings and all the books that I read. Comment below some of the books that you read this month and what books that you're looking forward to reading in July. Make sure to subscribe and like this video if you want to see more from me. And yeah, thanks for coming along on my little bookish journey. I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye!